How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Prozzie, and I just got back from Carrefour, which is like a French grocery store, and I'm gonna cook some dinner tonight. And yes, wine is always a good idea for dinner. The other day, I was editing my video about what I miss about China, and in that video, I said this. Still don't think it's fair how a lot of people, roll China into one antagonizing bowl, and it's just this low resolution view of the whole country, and I don't think that's very fair. And then I started to think myself, do I hate China? Do I do the same thing? Do I roll China up into one ball and now I start to hate it after I lived there for 4 years? And I don't think I do. And I wanted to clear that up because I think that some people think that I hate China, or maybe want to know if they would hate it if they ever moved there. And also try to explain, what people in Taiwan kind of think of the place, because it's an interesting topic, at least for my Western audience anyway. Like most things in life, these things are complicated, so I don't want to outright go and say I hate China, right? Most people won't because they understand that. But there are a lot of people out there who do really hate China and do kind of... Just got hit by a few scooters. Do generalize it quite a lot. And I wanted to try and explain my position. China does do quite a lot wrong. And they should be held accountable for that, right? Their athletes fail drug tests, and then they go and defend that. That's clearly wrong. They misinform people on the whole Wuhan whoopsie daisies. Clearly wrong. It costs people lives. And they should be held accountable for that. There's just a small problem. You see, Chinese ears are kind of closed. They're not open to that kind of dialogue. And here's what I mean by that. And also, again, I do apologize for the echo. This is a 50-year-old kitchen. There's not much on the walls. You see, Chinese people and the government and the country as a whole like to be wrapped up in their own securities, right? If I started this video singing the praises of the Chinese people and, talked about how their technical advancements and, their economy is running really strong and look how they've lifted themselves up and talked only good things about China, yeah, they would really like that, of course. Everybody from any country would, and their ears are open to that. You see, the thing is with Chinese people is that when push comes to shove, they can't take the heat. They don't like being grilled. They don't like being fried on their rather recent dubious country's history. People constantly remind them of how terrible it was, and they just can't take it. They curdle up, their ears close. They simply don't want to listen. And once they recover from the crying and all that, they start to try and defend their country. They'll stand by their athletes that clearly cheated. They'll stand by themselves even when it's so obvious they're wrong. It's that sense of nationalism that I just can't get behind. It's something that I really appreciate with our Taiwanese people because they're not like that at all. They're a lot more open to criticism. And I've said this in videos in the past, but it's a massive strength of the Taiwanese. It's how they're able to grow and look past their shortcomings, or maybe even look directly at their shortcomings and make it better, to fix those problems. See, that's what China's biggest problem is, for me anyways, is they can't fix any of their problems because they refuse to look at them. There's always an excuse. It's always, you don't understand China. It's always, well, you're not Chinese, so what do you care? Or, don't say anything bad about China and all this other kind of stuff. They can never accept it. It's something that I dislike, but do I hate it? Well, that's a different story. Oh, and by the way, as simple as it gets, steak with asparagus and an extremely simple wet brine pan sauce. Why the hell am I making this during a video? Well, you see, years ago, I worked in a kitchen for 4 years when I was living in Canada. You see, I hated parts of it. I remember working the dinner rush, being maybe understaffed, getting yelled at by my chef, constantly getting grilled, constantly having to go through these hardships just to put myself through university. But there were good times. I mean, the people I worked with, I shared a bond with. The things that I learned were incredible. I'm able to make this steak. A lot of people, I know it's easy, but a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people can't make steak, as simple as it sounds. And it's the same thing with China in a certain way. There are certain things about China that I learned that, yeah, I had some hard times. I do have some massive issues with the country, but I don't hate it because what I got in return is a knowledge of a culture that I otherwise wouldn't have had, and also a certain level of understanding for how they are. Okay, so basically all that sort of rather confusing cooking analogy was trying to say is that, you know, just not a very good system. I didn't like the system I was under. But the people that I met and the people that I worked with are unforgettable. And the memories I had in that kitchen, I'll never forget. And the skills that I learned from there are lifelong skills that I'll never forget. And I'm always appreciative of that fact. And China is the same, right? I disagree with a lot of the way the country works. I disagree with a lot of their foreign policy. I disagree with a lot of, you know, just the way the country works. But I can't say I hate it as a whole, because the people and the memories that I have there and the people that I love so much just accumulate to this thing, all of that, all of the grit, all of the hardships, the elbow grease I put into it, all accumulate to a love for the country it's a tough love, I'll say that, but I can't say I outright hate the country. Again, it's not that black and white. And I got called out in a video recently, I suppose, by Guelo60, who's a fellow Canadian YouTuber up in China. And he offered to have a beer with me in the most strangest of ways. He said this:
let's not forget the little turd in Taiwan. Actually, you're on my list of somebody to come and visit. Yes, I like to travel, and I haven't done Taiwan yet. So when I'm in Taiwan, I'm gonna look you up. We'll go for a beer.
And I accept that offer for a beer if you're ever in Taiwan. I would love to have an open discussion about why I think that Taiwan is the better place to live, and why Taiwan is morally and ethically a superior country, and you can have your points as well. You know, I don't really, although it is the strangest way to ask someone out for a beer. It's important to note that in that video he's saying that, you know, his wife is Chinese, and that me and my friends or whatever, whoever just so happens to criticize China is criticizing all people, all Chinese people. And that's not fair, because, and it's not true either. That's not what's happening. It's a rather weak argument to have, because if you adopt other people's ideologies to the point where you're not even thinking for yourself, you're just taking other people's thoughts and regurgitating them out into the world, then you're not really there. You're not thinking as an individual, and that's important. And that's really why I love Taiwan, as people have individual thought. Not that Chinese people don't, but again, you're living in a collectivist society with a one-party state. And so if you're just regurgitating other people's ideologies, I can just replace you with the next person. And it doesn't matter, it's the same bloody thing. These things, like I said, are complicated. They're not so black and white. There are things to absolutely love about China. There's so many good things about China, but man, there's also some things that definitely need to be fixed and definitely need to be criticized. And I like to take what this group says and that group says and figure out what do I think about it, and do my best to, you know, form some kind of opinion, and I try to educate myself on it as best as I can. But I don't think it's fair or smart to just regurgitate other people's information so carelessly. Like, be an individual, have something to say really from your heart, and you know, it's not an attack on all Chinese people or your wife or whoever you just happen to be associated with in China. It's barely even an attack. It's simply a criticism. It's a plead to improve. And that's kind of where I stand on it. I hope this makes sense. I don't hate China. I'm critical of it, but I love it, and I don't hate it. You know, and I think that's the smartest thing you can do, unlike filming on like literally the loudest street in Taichung. And you know, I understand why people would think of me as a sort of anti-China or someone who hates China. You know, they throw me in that camp because, you know, they might see CMOK's videos or Winston's videos, and I get it. I'm guilty by association, I suppose, because I've worked with them in the past, and they're some of my best friends. And I hope that people understand that, you know, my friends, CMOK and Winston, they do, I know, I get it, I understand. I've seen so many comments of people saying they've unsubscribed from them, they can't watch their videos anymore because it's too negative. Because maybe you were used to watching videos about their experiences in China and maybe some positive stories and come along with the ride. And now it's taken a bit of a shift to be a little bit more critical because, you know, well, they care about the place, really. And maybe I have too much faith in humanity to think that people aren't that dumb, where they can form their own opinions on things without just jumping to conclusions based off what their friends say or whatever. And I know, I'm biased, right? CMOK and Winston are my friends, and I love them, and I'll always support them. Anyways, guys, with all that being said, I hope I cleared up my position in a way. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I kind of wanted to show you guys a bit of my late day with cooking and making video. I don't really know what I was doing, but I hope it was clear enough where you get what I'm saying. And with all that being said, it's now time to check the top comment from last week's video, which was about things that I miss about China. And I do miss the place a little bit. I miss my friends. And go check it out. You can click on the top right-hand corner of your screen if you wanted to check that out. Last week's top comment comes from Thomas Liang, which says, I never thought I could gain weight so quickly until I went to Taiwan for a month. And now I see the effects of +2 years there. Just kidding, but the food is so damn good. And yeah, I have had a lot of comments about my weight because maybe I throw in some B-roll of my past in China, and I was quite a bit thinner. And needless to say, I know, guys, I know I'm getting fat. But not to worry, I've taken action, and I'm trying to lose it again. But he's absolutely right. I mean, the food here in Taiwan is so good, and I've definitely been treating myself a little bit too much. I gotta have a little bit more self-discipline. But it's something to think about if you're coming to Asia, because you know, it is easy to get fat, and I envy Taiwanese people so much because they can eat like tons of rice and noodles and carbohydrates and not get fat. And you know, I work with moms that are like, they've got 3 kids and look fantastic. I don't get it. I'm so envious of that. But you know, I'm 30 is like right around the corner. I just turned 29 a few days ago, and oh man, I gotta do something quick. But don't you guys worry, I'm on it. I've never been fat before, and it's really scaring me. So I'm working on my health. But thank you so much for the comment. And if you guys have any questions or a discussion you wanted to put up in the comments, please do feel free, and consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. It really helps me out if you want to see more videos like this. If you want to see extra content about other things, I've got a Patreon page. You can check that out in the link in the description below. And yeah, follow me on Instagram at Prozzie_SR. Stay positive, keep your stick on the ice. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.